Hey there, good morning. Welcome back to my garden. So today is Wednesday, and that means we're going to do another What's Blooming Wednesday episode, I guess, of what's blooming currently in my garden. So this isn't a full garden tour. This is just something I started actually 2 weeks ago, where we just are going to walk around my gardens and see what is currently in bloom. And this is kind of exciting because I've been actually gone for the last 4 days. So I'll be walking around with you seeing what's newly in bloom. One of the first things that I noticed when we got home was this clematis next to me. And so I thought this is a good time to do our next little look at what is blooming. So yeah, so my family and I, we just went up to Washington. We got together with, there's 15 of us from my immediate family, my cousin's family, my mom, my cousin's mom, my cousin's mother-in-law. We get together, rent a house up there in Seabrook, Washington, and it's absolutely wonderful. We don't typically go in May. We usually go in the fall. So this was a little harder for me to go right now because you guys know May is an amazing time to be in the garden, to be home, to be working in your garden, seeing what's blooming and sprouting and all the things. But being gone, it's kind of fun now to come home and just kind of see my garden with a little bit of fresh eyes to see what is now in bloom. So we're going to start here by this clematis that I noticed when I got home because it is starting to open, and then we're just going to walk around my garden. For those of you who haven't been here before or may not remember, I'm in zone 8B. I'm in Western Oregon. We are at a little bit of a higher elevation. We're at about 1,300 feet. So what's blooming here in my garden is a little bit typically delayed from what is blooming down in what we call the valley, or what's a lower, more typical elevation for Oregon. So if you are also in my zone, if you're in Western Oregon, you may be comparing, your stuff is probably a little bit ahead of mine. So anyway, let's just get started and walk around and see what's blooming. All right, so here we are in this raised bed. You guys were with me when we planted up all these annuals, and they're looking great. We actually have our first bloom on the Sun-Credible sunflower, which is exciting. But what I'm also very excited about is this Rouge Cardinal, I believe is the variety of clematis that is starting to open. And generally, this is a really, really high performer for me. I see lots of flower buds up there. It's a vigorous grower. As you can see, it's kind of starting to flop forward. I need to get that connected back up to the arbor. But this one is just starting to open. There's a couple back there, kind of hidden, hidden back behind the arbor. So that's really exciting. You can also see some of the other annuals over here that are we've already looked at. Those are already in bloom. And then over in this bed, as you'll see throughout many of the beds, the catmint, the Nepeta is starting to really kind of show off. Oh wow, and you can see how much weeding I have to do in the back of this garden, but this small little rhodie has its bloom, one little bloom on it, and a bee that's already enjoying it. So I don't recall the variety of this. This was kind of a just plop it in and see how it did, but that is a beautiful color of purpley red on this rhododendron. Okay, so we just came across the driveway, and we of course see that the annuals, these are the Mini Vista Indigo, and again, I'm not going to probably spend too much time on the annuals because those will just be continuing to bloom hopefully each time that we look through the garden. As we come down here to the path in front of the house, my knockout roses are starting to bloom. This is one that is it is red. It's pretty vibrant. It's one that blooms so beautifully all summer long, honestly, and I cut this guy back really, really hard. It typically doesn't have pest issues, and it's just a really prolific bloomer, and I love the colors of stems. That's just one of my favorite things about these roses. I've often thought about moving this one just because the color isn't exactly what I go for in my color palette, but it has yet to be moved. So there's another one over here that is a pink variety, which I absolutely love. I love this one. I have another one around the corner, so we'll look at that when we get over there. Right over here, you can see more Nepeta. The Snow and Summer is still going strong. This is the improved Snow and Summer, which I'm not really sure what they improved on it other than that it's a little bit of a higher grower than my other variety. The snowmound spiraea is just starting to bloom. This one doesn't bloom as profusely as it probably should, just mostly because I do shear it. After this one's done blooming, I'll give this a hard haircut to kind of bring it back to size. It's not an ideal spot for this guy to be because I do have to shear it, but I don't mind for now. So swinging this way, you can see that the rhododendron is still in bloom. This was just starting to open, I think, in our last little walk around, and now it's pretty much fully open. The blooms are starting to fade a little bit, getting lighter in color. They go through that progression, but it has a lot of bees on it, so that's always good to see when there's something for the bees to be enjoying. The Deutzia over here is starting to bloom. This is the Yuki cherry variety. I just love those little sweet blooms with the white on the edge. These also have been sheared pretty hard, so I don't expect that they're gonna be, they don't look like they have too many buds on them. This is their second year in the ground, so, but still super sweet. Heuchera has its little blooms on it, but that's typically not what we grow Heuchera for. But oh, see, this is why this is fun. I didn't even notice that my Itoh Peony is starting to open. This first flower is opening. This one is kind of an apricot pinky color. I'll put the name of it up on the screen, but these ones are just about to open. This is covered in buds. This is, I think, its 5th year in the ground, and this is really large. It's getting to the point, I think, where it's at its mature size, and it just blows me away every year. So we have some hardy geraniums on the ground that are blooming. This variety is one that grows and spreads very easily, easy to transplant, easy to spread around, easy to shear back, and then it'll just continue to bloom all summer long. You can see some more over here along the edge here next to the cat's pajama Nepeta. And right along here you can see some more of the Nepeta, and over here there's some more of the hardy geranium. So this variety right here of the Deutzia is actually the same as this one. This one was not sheared back, and you can see it's way more covered in flowers, but I don't like the habit as much. I'd rather it be a little bit more compact than that, so that's something we're gonna have to be working on. So here's another one of the snowmound spiraea that's just about to start. It's starting to bloom. Lots of Columbine that is in bloom. We looked at this last time that we walked around too. This purple variety, I just love that color. It's so striking. The geum is still in bloom. This, I believe, is the rose tempo, I think is what it is. Super sweet flowers, super sweet. I've thought about adding some more of those into the garden if I come across them. So some more of the cat's pajamas. Swinging over here, and you can see this gorgeous variety of hardy geranium. It has just tons of buds on it, and it's just starting to open. See, there's three of those right there. They seem to be a little bit more of a tidy habit than the other varieties of hardy geraniums that I have, and I appreciate that. Oh, actually I have 4. Just kidding. There's one right over there. So you can see the variegated Weigela is still in bloom. There's one right there. And one right there. And this is the other of the knockout roses that I have, that's that light pink. So I could potentially plant this one in over there where that red one is, but gosh, sometimes it's really hard when something is doing so extremely well. It's kind of hard to take it out. And you can see this honeysuckle is blooming. This is the Sensation honeysuckle, and you can see, unfortunately, it has quite a bit of aphid activity on it. So I'm just excited to see that it is actually blooming. I've had so many ladybugs on it that I haven't really sprayed it too aggressively with anything that could really be helpful. So I just kind of had to deal with it and see what it does in spite of all the aphid activity. Okay, I'm just coming back here on the lawn so I can turn around and show you that this sweet climbing rose, I think it's more actually of a rambler, is starting to open. These sweet, sweet flowers. Look at how tiny they are. They're just the most dainty thing. They're just lovely, and I know that as soon as some heat starts to hit this, it's just gonna really go crazy and also smell really good. I can't really smell the scent when it's cold, but they're a really, really sweet light pink. And I just love this climber, though it does take some maintenance. It's quite aggressive. I guess it's really happy in its spot. Okay, now we'll swing this way and we'll look at the Weigela. It is completely in bloom. We have had a lot of rain, which was nice when we were gone because I didn't have to have the boys that were house sitting for us do any watering, but you can see that things are a little bit splayed out, and this Weigela definitely is that. It is completely in bloom. Well, actually I guess not. There's still some more on there that they have yet to open. So it has a little bit more to go, but completely covered and rather weighted down. So I'll have to be thinking about what to do for this guy after it is done blooming, but for now it's a hummingbird magnet. They're all over it all the time, and that I just love to see that. So that is super beautiful. I don't know the variety of this one other than it's just probably, you know, one of the OGs. It's one of the original just grow big and go crazy type of Weigelas. So over here we have some of the mountain bluet that is continuing to bloom. It'll continue to bloom for several weeks. More of the hardy geraniums. This is a variety that I have a lot of places in my gardens just because it's easy to divide. It's easy to just dig out a little chunk and plop it in here and there, but it also does go to seed. So that's something to keep in mind when you get a plant that is really happy in your garden. Just consider that it may want to spread around to wherever it wants to be. So you can see over in the distance over there we have some Spanish lavender that also put itself here by seed. I had a plant further back this direction and it spread out to here. The mother plant has since died and it's just kind of spreading out towards the fire pit. But that is in full bloom, and that's just always lovely to see. It's such a pretty purple, and also complete magnet for bees. They're all over it, even though it's nice and cold. It's pretty early. It's still got lots of activity on it. Okay, we're just gonna come over here across this little side driveway over here to this bed, and you can see I have some verbascum in bloom. This is kind of underwhelming. It's just one single plant. It doesn't do great for me once the heat hits. It just kind of dwindles away, but I just love this color, and if I could grow this all over in my gardens, I would. I just think it's very sweet. Very sweet, and always catches my eye when it is in bloom. You can see that the Baptisia is just starting to open. I guess we can call this one in bloom because some of these little guys down here are, although it has, it has a ways to go, but this one, I'll put the name of this variety up on the screen, but as you can see, it's a purpley, bluish variety, and I'm excited to be able to see it so well since we pulled out all of that lavender that was right here. I can see it a lot better. So the Scaevola is starting to bloom. I might have missed a day of watering this guy after I first got it in the ground, so it's taking a second to kind of come back and fill in and all that stuff, but it's doing okay. So we'll swing this way and we can see this variety of Spanish lavender. It's much more vibrant in its purple than the other one that we were just looking at. The whole thing is kind of has a more, I don't know, what would you call that purple? I don't know. It's just much more vivid, and yeah, this is a younger plant, and I just love it. I've tried to keep this one in a nice dome shape, and so when those blooms come on and they just absolutely cover the plant, I just think that's super pretty. So when we turn around this direction, you can see more of the hardy geranium that are in bloom, same variety that we just saw on the other side. And also this variety of hardy geranium, this is the Johnson's Blue, and it's starting to open as well. This one's much taller than the other varieties that are on the other side over there. And yeah, this one's a goodie too. This one is easy to find lots of places. It's pretty widespread, and I have a couple different places in my garden. There's one right there as well. We'll just walk this way along the front lawn, and we'll get a look at the Columbine stands that are in bloom. There's this kind of light pink one, really light, almost probably considered a white variety, and then there's the purple beyond that. And we come down this direction. Actually, it's kind of interesting. There's pansies. There's white pansies that came back that are blooming now. That I don't know, planted those last year, and they're still there. So that's fun. You can see these Columbine are still in bloom. We have a couple different varieties or variations, I guess I can say. I talked about it last time too. I don't know if it's just that they cross in their pollination and kind of become new colors, because this really light color is kind of the original that I had, and then I planted in some seeds of the purple one, and now we have a little bit more of a mauve-y variety in the middle there. So these guys just go and go and go, and it'll be fun to see in these videos just actually how long the Columbine stems stay blooming and stay pretty in the garden. See Bella down there, she has a thing against bees. Thankfully she's not allergic to them. We haven't seen her get any sort of reaction, but she likes to eat them or bite them, I guess. Okay, just coming down this little pathway, and we're gonna come into this bed over here. As we come around this side, we can see that the pink profusion salvia is in bloom, as it is over on this side as well. They kind of mirror each other, I guess, a little bit. And this Weigela that's behind here, this is the Sesky Trilogy, I think. And gosh, I planted it last year when it didn't, after it had bloomed, like it was just foliage. So I really didn't totally know what it was gonna do. But gosh, it has lots of buds all the way down inside the plant. So I don't know, this one might need to have a better spot because it's kind of hard to see with the spiraea and stuff around it, but that is just starting to bloom, and it's going to be beautiful over the next couple of weeks. So not much else is blooming in these beds. Just look through here. We do have a little bit of Nepeta that's still blooming. This pink sparkler, actually. This is a birch spiraea. You can see the difference in the shape and the color of this spiraea versus this one over here. This is, I think, the double play Big Bang, I think is the variety. So this one is much more green. It's a little bit more rounded in the leaves, but it's starting to open with this sweet pink flower. So the birch spiraea, though, it blooms on old wood versus the regular spiraea that is kind of probably more common, blooms on new wood. So this one I'll be pruning back after it finishes its bloom. So I guess we'll come over here and look at this dogwood. You guys were with me when we planted this in last year too. I think I talked about it in the last video that it was just starting to open up its not really its flowers, right? Those are not technically the dogwood's flowers, but they look really sweet. Look how they're just all kind of looking up. I don't know what the habit is on that, but I just think it's really cute. They just look like they're opening up towards the sun, and I think that's really sweet. So that was fun to see the color on those. I'm just going to show you guys this, even though they're not in bloom. I'm excited about these. The deer haven't found them yet, and so it'll be great to see once these little carpet roses start to bloom, because they're really pretty pink. And usually the deer keep these kind of pruned down. For some reason they come find these two little shrubs right here, and I don't get to see them in bloom very often, but we probably will this year, so that's exciting. Up here in this bed, I guess we do have, this is the Biokova variety of hardy geranium, just a light pink, almost a white variety. This one is one we transplanted in last year, just from starts from one that I have in the backyard. You can see the snowball bush is also in full bloom, although there's not many blooms on it. But this is also one I haven't gotten blooms on the last couple years because the deer have come in here and kind of removed them, unfortunately. But these are super sweet. If this guy actually does what it should potentially be doing, I'll have to prune this up into a tree eventually so that it'll kind of arch over this pathway. But it's fun to see a few little buds on that guy. All right, now we're down here on the driveway, and you can see here's some more Spanish lavender. Again, just a very vibrant purple variety that is in bloom, and that'll just continue to be in bloom for a while. Again, that's fun for me for these videos to see just how long things actually stay in bloom too. We have some annuals underneath there. Diamond Snow, I believe, is the variety of this euphorbia. Here's one of the 3 Percy Wiseman rhodies that we planted in. The other 2 are basically done with their bloom, but this one I planted later, so it's still beautiful, planted next to a Deutzia that'll probably be moving here pretty soon after it's done with its bloom. There's another one of the Spanish lavender around the corner from another one right there. And I'll just swing this way to show you that the candy tuft is now out of bloom. I'll be coming in and shearing that back a little bit just to kind of maintain its height now that it's all done. The sea thrift is still beautiful in bloom, and this snow and summer as well. And the basket of gold alyssum is just coming out of bloom, so that also will need to be sheared back very soon. As we come up here along the driveway, you can see the heuchera is actually in bloom also, which is sweet. Again, you know, it's not typically what we grow them for, but it does look sweet. But this right here is what catches my eye. This is a creeping thyme, and this is what this beautiful ground cover does. We just planted some of this in our ground cover episode that you guys just saw on Monday, I believe. So this is what that lovely ground cover will do, and why I love it so much. It's just literally a carpet of flowers. We'll just look from this direction. Here's the rhodie that we kind of started up at, and the snow and summer, the Nepeta, and then the roses. So just pan this way really quick, and you can see the Itoh Peony right there, all the way over there to the Weigela. But here's the view that you see when you first come up to our carport. So as you can clearly see back there, we have a beautiful Weigela that is in bloom still. We'll go up there in just a second, but really quick, right down here we have some bleeding hearts. This is just a I don't know, basic genus. I don't know, it's not a specific variety or anything like that, so it's just kind of the light pink one that you might actually find out in the wild. And then this isn't technically blooming, but you can see the tricolored beech has pushed its leaves, and this is when it is the most beautiful, I think, in its coloring, with the really pretty pink margins on that plant. So we're gonna come up here now, and here's another variety of hardy geranium that's in bloom. This one I got from a friend years ago, and it does spread like wildfire, and it gets very, very large. So I don't know what variety that is, but it's prominent in my garden. So here's the variegated Weigela. I think I showed it was just starting to bloom in the last video, so 2 weeks ago, and now it's completely covered. And again, everything is kind of droopy because of all the rain that we've had. So we'll see what this one does when it dries out a little bit, if I have to come in and do some pruning on it, but super pretty on that one. Okay, so coming around this corner, you can see, oh, we have a hosta that's wide open now. That's exciting. More columbine blooming up atop of that, and then some more of the hardy geranium. This area is kind of a little forgotten corner, so it's fun to come up here every once in a while and actually see what it's doing. But gosh, this hosta is beautiful. Not blooming though, so we won't focus too much on that. But this over here is a double-filed viburnum. We'll get a better look at it from the lawn, but 2 weeks ago it was in beautiful bloom, and it still is. And I think these are things that are fun to note, that, you know, what blooms for pretty long periods. And I think a shrub that blooms this long, that's pretty notable. So very pretty with its white flowers. So let's go look at it from the other angle. But as we do, you can see these heuchera are also in bloom. Super sweet. All right, so we were just right up there next to that Weigela. I had to kind of creep down underneath this Japanese maple. It's a little bit droopy too from the rain, but you can see right here with the double file viburnum, it's still very pretty. Super covered in flowers. All right, so now we're going to go into the backyard, and I really haven't I haven't looked back here to see what's blooming. Coming into the back garden, you can see some more Columbine that's in bloom, and not too much else in this bed right here. Again, more Nepeta, but we've seen that in other areas. Our lavender that we just planted in is starting to open up. That's exciting. It looks really nice next to the purple sedum that's right there. And then over here we have some more of the Spanish lavender that seeded itself all right there. That was nothing that I planted, but it's just a nice softening to the edge of this dry creek bed. So I appreciate them there, and they're super pretty, of course, when they are blooming. Coming up here, I have to move this. I don't know why it is still sitting here, but anyway, you can see more of the Nepeta, obviously here in bloom. Coming along this bed back here. Now we're in this little walk-through garden here, and this is a Glow Girl spiraea. I believe it was just coming into bloom in our last walk-through video too, and it's now pretty much in full bloom. I love the chartreuse coloring of these leaves and the pretty white flowers. It's just its second year. I just planted these guys in last year, and they're doing really well, really well in this garden here. So back over here, this is where I took the Biacova geraniums from that we just looked at up in the very front garden. You can see how much they fill in right here and just are mingling so nicely with the purple sage and this blonde platinum lavender. Oh, I love that. I love that when the garden just kind of starts to meld together. I think that's super pretty. I also think it's really pretty when the blooms contrast so well with the bud color. Actually that's kind of just what's, you know, holding the bud together. It's actually not even technically the bud, but that just adds so much interest, I think, on a flower. So again, that's the Biacova variety of the hardy geranium. And then over here on this side, this I believe is the Carmina variety, which has a very similar habit as the Biacova, but it's obviously a different color. But nice and mounding, and the flowers just stand up nice and tall over the beautiful foliage. So this is another one that is spreading, and it's very easy to transplant. We'll probably be doing some of that here shortly, getting this spread around in more parts of the garden. All right, the California lilac is in bloom. This is quite a blue flower, isn't it? When you look at it compared to the purple of this Spanish lavender that we also just planted in, it's quite blue. So yeah, really pretty. I was excited to look out my back window and see how prominent that is, how much it stands out back here in this garden. Oh, we have some pincushion flower that's starting to open. We have some boxwood that need to be shorn. But then this lilac was not in bloom last time we did our walkthrough. We were seeing it was just about to start, and now it is. So this must be the bloomerang, just regular purple lilac. The other one in the front that we looked at previously, that was the bloomerang dark purple. So you can see the difference in color in these guys, much lighter. And again, once it warms up, this smells really good. So just, you can see this view here. There's some more hardy geraniums that are in bloom right there and right there. Those are all the same as this one right here that I transplanted, again, from the same garden bed that we started at. You can see them right down there. Okay, this is exciting to me. We see that this is the My Monet Weigela. This is one that doesn't mind a little bit of shade, so I have it planted over here. It is blooming, as you can see. The blooms look a little bit spent at this point, so they don't seem to last as long as the other Weigelas, that I have, but this one obviously is very pretty foliage, so I don't mind then a plant that has beautiful foliage, even if it doesn't have beautiful blooms, because I love looking at foliage in my gardens almost as much as I love looking at blooms. So now we're down here on the back lawn, and it looks like we have some more Nepeta that's in bloom. This is a different type of Nepeta. You can see that it has the larger leaves, and it's a little bit more splaying, a little bit smaller than the other varieties that I have. throughout the garden. And we'll scan this way, and you can see that the Montana clematis is still in bloom, climbing up into the privet and climbing up the house and all the things. So I'm thankful that it's still blooming, because that means that I don't have to quite figure out what I'm going to do with the aggressive climbing nature of this plant yet. I do anticipate that I'm probably going to have to cut it all the way back and let it start over, just because I don't want it to harm the shrubs, but maybe I'll do a little bit of research on that before I go about doing that. So down here you can see there's more Spanish lavender that's blooming. This is a pink variety though, so that's fun to incorporate when you have a plant that does really well for you, but just picking maybe a different bloom color. And I love having lavender right along pathways, because then you can brush against it and it smells so nice, and that's sweet. So these Cucarella over here are in bloom. This definitely takes on more of the foam flower look in its blooms than the typical, like this heuchera that's right here. The Cucarella have more of the foam flower look to their blooms, and so that's a sweet variety too. This dogwood is still holding its color. It's starting to drop its petals, but yeah, it's lasted a good while, and I love that about dogwoods. They really do hold their petals for a good while for a tree, and that maybe because that's not actually their, technically their flowers. So I love this one, love this color in the garden, especially over here as it's blooming over here with the Montana clematis. Looking underneath the shade of the maple tree here, you can see that the Brunnera is still totally in bloom. We saw beautiful blooms up here on the hellebores that are underneath this really large hosta. Those blooms just seem to hang on forever, and you can see there underneath it is the Brunnera. Panning over here, there's some more of the mountain bluette, and also these sweet little. And then over here, I think this is where we'll end. We've kind of looked all around the gardens at this point, but we have our first Eden climbing rose that is opening up. I have it trained, or I'm working on training it to come up and hopefully climb up my garden shed. I don't know how well it'll do. I don't know if it's gonna love being in this container, but it was worth a try, and I think it's just a beautiful bloom. Because it's been pretty cold, it's just taken its time opening. So I've started to see it bloom, opening up before we left, and I was glad to see that it hadn't totally opened up and bloomed out by the time we got home. So very sweet. I just love that rose. All right, so this is where we're going to end this little walk through the garden, seeing what is blooming. It's May 21st, and we're getting towards the end of May already, which is crazy. So yeah, this was fun for me, like I said at the beginning, to walk through and look with you what is blooming since we've been gone. Obviously saw lots of work that needs to be done in the gardens, so that'll kind of be my next step. As soon as the weather dries out a little bit, I'll be out here weeding and cutting things back already, which is crazy. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed seeing what is blooming, and I'll look forward to showing you more of the work that we're doing in the gardens, and then in a couple weeks looking at what has changed, probably towards the beginning of June, and seeing what's blooming then. So anyway, hope you guys are having a great day, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.